Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Lakeland Rotary Club. My name is Joel Ivey, and I'm so glad you could join us. We're going to kickstart this with our own Mayor, Bill Mutz. He's going to give the invocation, Pledge of Allegiance, and recite the four-way test. As I said, he is the mayor of our great city, and he's a very good one. Going on 22 years as a Rotarian. And if you want to see what being a mayor does to you, I encourage you to go check out his photo on Club Runner, because it's like two different people from how he is today. It's a stressful gig, but Mayor, you're doing a great job. So if you'll please lead us in the invocation.
You're muted, Bill.
Thank you. Father, what a privilege it is to be able to live in this city, to be able to have the associations we have in this club, to be able to have the opportunities to be able to exercise the gifts that you provide to each of us. We pray that we are found faithful to you and dependent upon you and appreciative of you in terms of the many, many things we enjoy. Thank you for this club having such a pivotal role in our community in terms of the efforts and support it provides to so many, and for the history on which it has been built and the shoulders on which we are able to stand for the people who made it great as well as this city great. As we think about this year ahead, we pray that you cause us to be as nimble as necessary, vital as possible, and energetic and enthusiastic about the opportunities before us. Certainly in difficult times, it is easy to focus on the negative. And what is so important to do is to be an encouragement to others and encouraging to ourselves in terms of the opportunities that we have. So let us not take for granted any difficulties that we have, but rather recognize them as the chance we have to pivot in a way that creates a positive opportunity and a new opportunity and creative opportunity because of them. We ask all these things in your precious and heavenly name. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And let's recite the four-way test together of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. We appreciate that. Trey, would you like to do the introduction of guests and visiting Rotarians, please? Is Trey on the line? Amanda, would you like to do the introduction of guests and visiting Rotarians? You're muted.
Sure, I'll do it. Is there anybody who has a guest? Please unmute yourself and introduce your guest.
Amanda, this is Don. I have the pleasure of introducing as my guest today Joe Xanthopoulos, who is the Executive Director of Florida Presbyterian Homes. And Joe and his wife, Margaret, I think joined us a couple of years ago. I don't know how long it's been now. And he's doing a wonderful job out at the Florida Presbyterian Homes. He and Margaret came down from Chicago, but Joe is a former Rotarian. In fact, he was at once a member of a 500-person Rotary in Madison, Wisconsin. So he's been around big clubs, and I'm surely I've been begging him for a while to come and join us. So please welcome Joe. Thank you.
Welcome, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm scrolling through the list, and I don't see any other guests. And I do know that we have our friend Doug McCall with us again from Wallasey, England. So he's a visiting Rotarian. Welcome.
Can you hear me?
Hi, all.
Yep, Mark.
I guess, Irma Cole has been through Rotary information, so I guess that.
If you couldn't hear Mark, he said that he's got Irma Cole here, who's been through Rotary information, as have John Lout and Carol Hornsby and a couple of others that are awaiting the next steps in the process. Anyone else? Okay, I think that's it, President.
Okay, thank you. Now it's time for Happy Dollars. If anybody has a Happy Dollar announcement you would like to make, please unmute yourself and speak up.
Joel, this is Brenda Ramirez.
Hey, Brenda.
Hey, I am happy today and overjoyed and I guess overwhelmed at the kindness shown to our family by our Leadership Lakeland Class 36 this weekend. And for the past couple of weeks, I've been pretty quarantined because I'm 8 months pregnant. And this weekend, our Leadership Lakeland class hosted a drive-by sprinkle for our baby. And they've also been keeping our postal workers busy with gifts being delivered to our house. So I'm very happy and overjoyed today.
Congratulations on that. I hope that you're doing well with the pregnancy.
Joel, this is Don Selvage. I do have a happy dollar to announce that I've made my annual donation to the Rotary Foundation. And as always, I make this in honor of the person who brought me into Rotary some 20 years ago, Dick Mervin, who is no longer with us. But Dick was a wonderful member and person in this community, and I thank him for introducing me to this wonderful thing called Rotary. I do also want to say that to everybody that I have found that under the pandemic, guests are sometimes easier to get to come. And I've always said if you can get one guest to come, the club will do the rest. So I encourage everybody to make as an annual goal that you bring one guest at least per year. And so I just want to go back and thank the man who said, well, I'll take that guy to lunch, and 20 years later, here I am. So happy to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Very well stated, as always. Any other Happy Dollar announcements? Please unmute yourself and let us hear you.
President Joel, this is Melody. I have one. We were slated to start an esports program last year around this time, and it got derailed, obviously, and we're up and running again. We're moving forward with starting the program, and I'm very excited about it. Esports is for students to compete competitively, I guess, and the video game arena. It's not my swim lane, but I know it's very popular and very fun for the students. And I have a Coach Stark, already on payroll, and we're building out, and it's going to be a great time. So I'm just really thrilled about it. Thank you.
I'm assuming you got to be less than like 25 years old to compete in that.
The players come from everywhere. It's very odd to me, so I'm learning a lot. Thank you.
Excellent. Any other Happy Dollars?
I have happy dollars.
All right, Alice.
I'm like a stack of happy dollars. I recently changed professions and took a new job. And my office with Congressman Franklin is across from Don Selvage. So I'm very happy that every day I get to chat with Don Selvage. He's one of my most favorite people in.
Alice, you got muted somehow.
Okay. Our own Doug Riley was chosen as Fire Chief of the Year for Florida. I think we all know that. But if you turn on C-SPAN at 9 a.m. on Friday, Congressman Franklin will be recognizing our own Doug Riley on the congressional floor.
Is that it for your stack?
Yes.
I have a happy dollar.
Okay. Hey, Tammy.
Hey, just wanted to let everybody know, as I've brought up a few times, we're building renovating our new building for Magnolia, and it's going fantastic. We are almost done with our permitting process, and then, but right now we've gotten everything cleaned out, and we've raised $125,000 towards the project already. So, and that's mostly parents. We've had a couple big donations from Geico and from Precision Hearing, but mostly that is parents. So hopefully we'll get some big donors from here on out, but the project is going so well. We're on schedule, we're below budget, and I would love to start doing some tours if you guys are interested in seeing it. I'll put a link out maybe the next week or two.
Very
Thanks.
good, Tammy. Great news. Thank you.
And then Joel, I have a happy dollar.
All right, Gwen.
Hi. So many of you are familiar with the SEU forum that we've had going on for 13 years. And this year we get to pivot and broadcast that nationally, which is really exciting for us. And we're offering it for free. And so you can register at SEUleadershipforum.com. We have Tony Dungy will be joining us, which I love as a kind of nod to the Buccaneers that are going to the bowl this year. And then also Bob Goff and Nona Jones, who will be our keynote speaker. So we will still have an in-person, intimate experience as a studio audience for our sponsors. And she is the executive at Facebook who handles faith-based partnerships. And then she also has a very large ministry as well. So we're excited to kind of make the pivot this year to be both a national, exposed nationally through the digital platform, and then have an in-person experience. And so you can register at SEUleadershipforum.com and expect another great event.
Fantastic. That's always a favorite event in this community. I know that. Any other happy dollars?
President Joel, this is Michelle Ledford.
Michelle.
Hi, I am happy to announce that it's time for our annual Brandathon. So our agency MAID every year donates pro bono services to deserving nonprofits, and we work for 24 hours straight to get all of that done. So just several nonprofits involved with our club have been beneficiaries of our work in the past. But applications are open and they are due next Friday, February 12th. You can go to our website, maidlkld.com, and find the application there. It's on my Facebook. It can be found there too. But if you're interested, get your application in, and we'll be doing that in March.
Very good. That's
President Joel?
Yes, sir.
It's Mark Skolnick, and I just wanted to remind everybody tonight is a great district event. We have a town meeting. Speaker is from Honduras, and he'll give us a live update about all the projects that we've done. This club has invested over $30,000 in projects in Honduras, and he'll show us where they are and what's going on, and have been hit by hurricanes and all kinds of problems, and he'll bring us up to date. Jonathan will be with us from 5:30 on, and we'll get live and in color. He has people on the ground in Honduras that will be streaming, and it should be a great event for an hour. It's 5:30. The link, you should have gotten a flyer with the link. Link should be the same one you have today. If you don't have the link, get a hold of Irma and I, and we'll get it for you. It's 5:30 tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, District Governor Mark. It's always a pleasure to see you, sir. Any other happy dollars? This is the happiest group in a long time, I think. All right, we're going to transition into announcements. We'll start with the Twilight 5K. Scott or Vince, you want to give us an update?
Yeah, I drew the short straw today. Sorry, everybody. So as I said last time, we're not going to hold the Rotary Twilight 5K this year due to the COVID concerns. However, we are going to continue with the fundraising effort so we can make a donation to the park. So there's two ways you can get involved. One, we will be selling our long sleeve running shirts this year. They're sky blue, like the announcements PowerPoint screen that you have on to your left there, and they're going to be $15 a piece. And if you would like your name or the name of your business on the back of the of all the shirts, you can also become a sponsorship for $100. And so what we're doing is making it really easy for everybody. We've got it up on the club portal. Hopefully y'all can see. Okay, and you click this little button up here on the club portal after you log in. Okay, and you'll see Rotary Twilight 5K fundraiser shirt and then the Rotary Twilight 5K sponsorship. Click on whichever one you want. You sign. I clicked on the sponsorship one. So if you click on the sponsorship one, they'll ping you for what you want, what name you want on the back of the jersey, or sorry, of the shirt, and also allow you to select one shirt at the sizes you're choosing. The shirts run from extra small to triple extra large. They come in unisex, and then the women's V-neck sizes, so you can select all through all of those. We're not going to advertise the shirts or the sponsorships outside of the Rotary clubs. We feel like we can make enough money from our members to give the city a good check. The shirts will be delivered to the Lakeland Rotary Club, and then I'll pick them up, and I'll schedule a pickup location after we get all the shirts in. So you have through the end of the month to donate, and then the shirts will come sometime in March. So email me or call me if you have any questions. Thanks.
Scott, did I hear you say that you can get online on the link that you're talking about and just buy a shirt, not necessarily a sponsorship, right?
Yes, just buy the shirt for $15. It's a separate button, or you get the sponsorship, which comes with the shirt for $100.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, our periodic spring obsession update, Matt or Melody. Anything to add?
Thanks, Joel. Yes, Spring Obsessions, we just want to have another reminder that it's March 13th, which is a Saturday, the second Saturday of March at Lake Crago. We want everyone to mark their calendars. Scott Reed, who's kind of in charge of our volunteering, will be working with Beth on the website to help recruit Rotarians to volunteer. So just look out for that. Thanks so much, Joel.
All right. Thank you, Matt. What did you leave out, Melody?
Just one thing on Facebook, please like and share our page so that we can get the word out. We need to do heavy advertising on the cheap just because we need to save as much money as possible for AEDs. So we appreciate that. Share, share, share. Thank you.
All right.
I have it posted on the district website, on the district Facebook page. Sorry.
Great. Thank you, Irma.
Thank you.
Thank you, Irma. I'm really proud of this committee for being able to move this forward. They're taking extra precautions with social distancing out there to make sure that we're doing everything we can and should to make sure this is a safe environment. So thank you all so much. Jack Lohman, surely you got a fellowship event to talk about.
I do indeed, sir. February 18th, put it on your calendars. That's a Thursday. We're going to have a happy hour at the Joinery down on Lake Mirror. If you've never been there, it's a really cool place. They've got 7 different food vendors. They've got a full bar and seating indoors and outdoors. So there's plenty of room to spread out, but it's whatever your palate is up for, from street tacos to ice cream and everything in between. So no reservations needed. Just hope you'll join us about 5:15, 5:30 on Thursday, the 18th.
Thank you, Jack. I just ate lunch there yesterday. It's an excellent place to get food and have some fellowship. So thank you for that. I've got a special announcement I want to make. We're ready to announce who our president-elect is. So bear with me for just a moment, please. Our president-elect grew up in northeastern Ohio. This person's childhood is best described as analog, actually playing outside the house. This person enjoyed camping and boating and gasp, riding bicycles. You know, who does that anymore, right? This person was at times a Viking, a Redskin, or more recently, Washington football team, or a Red Hawk and a Zip, whatever a Zip is. That will require some further commenting from our president-elect. This person has served as a Bible study leader, but eventually gave up on Nate Dunham, that is. This person served as a language tutor to refugees from Kosovo while studying abroad. This person has or is serving on various boards for charities or agencies and works to help provide services to victims of domestic violence. This person is a Paul Harris Fellow and a graduate of Leadership Lakeland Class 36. This person has served Rotary on the board of directors as a chair for Spring Obsession and as communications chair. This person is married with a 13-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son. This person has a Bachelor of Arts degree in Public Administration and a Juris Doctorate, both magna cum laude. This person works at Peterson & Myers as a senior attorney practicing corporate law with emphasis on management side labor and employment. Our president-elect for 2022-2023 is Amanda Walls. Can I coerce you to say?
Hey! Congratulations!
Yay!
Yay!
Get him, Amanda.
I'm glad.
Oh, it's so fun to watch the chat box come through. That's a different experience than having this announcement made at an in-person meeting. Well, I just want to say thank you to the past presidents and the selection committee. I mentioned to someone earlier that when I first moved to Lakeland from Northeast Ohio, I had been very active in the community in Ohio. And I was accustomed to going to most community events and knowing at least 20% of the people in the room. And I vividly remember the first time I was taken to an event like that here in Lakeland by the partners at the firm. It was a Kiwanis meeting, but feeling so disoriented because I didn't know anybody and I had no one to talk to. But it was just a few short weeks later that Phil Allen, my colleague, invited me to Rotary. And I am not exaggerating when I say when I walked in the doors of that meeting, I felt like I had found my people. And it was the first time that I really felt like Lakeland was home to me. And after 3 meetings, I was all in and have just really found this club to help me make Lakeland my new hometown and my anchor here. So I feel the honor and responsibility of being selected for this position, but I also know that I have an amazing foundation of tradition and support from the board and all the other past presidents and all of you who are my fellow Rotarians. So I'm really looking forward to the opportunity coming alongside Nate to really re-energize, refocus our club. I'm looking forward during my term to really leaning into diversity, to recharging our emphasis and commitment to service and reconnecting our club to the district and wider Rotary International community. So let's go. I'm excited. Number 5, that's me, is alive.
Meaning you're the 5th female president.
That's right.
Or will be eventually. Congratulations, Amanda. That's awesome.
Thank you.
All right. So you guys are in luck because I'm your program and there's actually nobody to introduce me. So without further ado, we'll go and step into the program. I'll tell you, I've been in Lakeland for 8 years now, over 8 years, and it has gone by like a snap for me. Now, there's a lot of people that say it's more like dog years for them. But I have been around the country. I've seen a lot. I've worked in Southern California. I've spent most of my life in the great state of Texas. I've had a chance to work and live in New Mexico. And so I've seen a lot of different things, and I've been able to bring those experiences that I've had with me out to Florida. And coming to Florida as compared to everywhere else I've been besides Texas, when I compare it to the other places, I have to say it's a whole lot more like Texas than any other place I've been. And it felt like I was just coming home almost when I got here. So I've really appreciated the welcome that I've gotten and the camaraderie, the fellowship of the folks out here in Florida. So thank you all for that. Can we go to the next slide, please? I want to talk about where Lakeland Electric is heading with our new energy future. You've read in the newspaper they were getting ready to shut down our coal generator. It's 38 years old. It's a little sooner than we wanted to, but we absolutely need to do it, and it's time to do it, and so we're making our plans to make that happen. But first, I want to talk a little bit about, kind of our horizon planning situation that we're in right now. We've been using a long-term strategic plan that we created back in 2014. Now it's 2021. I have never followed a 10-year strategic plan longer than 2 or 3 years because it just seems like things change so often for us. But this particular plan has been guiding us well. And the chart you see, or the chart you see on this slide is kind of the signpost of all the steps that we want to take throughout all the years to get to where we want to be in about 2025. We've got technologies that are maturing at a faster and faster rate. There are innovations occurring around the country that are really coming at us quickly. And so we want to make sure that we're still being strategic and thoughtful in how we go about conducting our business. But at the same time, we want to make sure that we're providing a good value to the consumers that we serve. And then, having a glide path for future leadership, in my mind, is absolutely essential. Next slide, please. So we're still going to be following the strategic plan, the long-term strategic plan. But in the last 5 years, things are going to be a little amorphous. Maybe they're going to be changing. They're going to be looking a little bit different. But I'm looking at me personally as having a 4 to 6 year outlook. Hopefully I can last that long, because that's how long I'd like to work and reach retirement. And then I want to be able to hand this place off better than I found it. So we got to make sure that we maintain focus. And I guarantee you that we will. So I'm looking at the next 5 years as kind of a 3-lane highway. You got your fast lane, your middle lane, and your slow lane. And in the fast lane is our annual strategic planning process, not to be confused with the long term. But that includes our budgeting that spins off of our annual strategic planning every single year. And I'm including Next Gen, which is the process that we've got in place right now to help us figure out how we're going to replace this coal generator that we're retiring, and then the future things that we need to do to be ready for what's going to come our way. And then, of course, that's going to include succession planning. Everybody in the executive group in Lakeland Electric will be turned over the next 4 to 6 years. And so that's going to be a big change for the city, for the organization. In the middle lane, we're going to start talking about a carbon policy. This is a huge decision that the city needs to tackle. We need to start taking steps to figure out, what do we want to be when we grow up in a certain period of time? Do we need metrics to help us get there, or do we like the path that we're on, which is just kind of an organic approach that's always improving and helping us to get to where we think that we want to be? I'm really looking forward to that conversation in the months and years ahead. And then we started this thing that we call emerging tech, which is in the slow lane. It seems like it's more glamorous. That's the bright, shining, flashing lights, the shiny objects of the work that we do. And then so I've actually hired a manager that's in charge of emerging tech, and he is just beginning to get his feet wet in this area. But we've got applications of solar technologies and battery technologies. We've got the prospects of hydrogen as a fuel source over a longer term basis. These are things that we need to be watching very closely to make sure that we're maybe not on the bleeding edge of the technology, but certainly ready to leverage it when it comes available and is proven enough to where we should. But that's it, definitely in the slow lane, because there's going to be very few things that actually get adopted over a short period of time, and it's going to be more like a long haul for us to get to these new technologies and applications. Next slide, please. So I would like to say that we are drawing a line in the sand, and we're absolutely drove a stake in the ground with this city commission. What we've said is that we're moving past coal as a generating resource. We have our mindset on having a more environmentally friendly set of generation resources that we're stepping towards. This city commission is the one that is making this happen. This is one of the biggest decisions that we've made in a very, very long time. And it's a big one, and it's a good one. And I'm really proud of the city commission for standing firm and helping us get to this point in making these decisions. We've been able to do this because our debt position is in a good place. When I first got here, that was one of the first things I realized we had to get a good grip on, as our debt wasn't out of control, but it wasn't where it needed to be. We're in a lot better position now, and we're only going to get better. We need a new infusion of generation. Our generation resources are getting old. So am I, but they're getting old by their standards. And we certainly need to be looking at bringing in new sources of generation. And that's exactly what we're doing. The cost of solar energy is coming down. It's very low right now, and it's also aided by a low cost borrowing that we can get our hands on out there in the market. And so we're going to be going to market. We have an RFP out right now for 50 to 75 megawatts of solar. Okay, so big deal. How much is that? Our total system requirement to serve all 130,000 accounts is 920 megawatts. So you can do the math and get a sense of how much that is. You got to be cautious about how much solar you bring into the system because of its intermittency, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. But we certainly need to start bringing in more. And the amount of solar that we have right now today is it's a paltry 15 megawatts. So you can see going from 15 maybe up to 75. That's one heck of a jump in how much of that resource we're going to bring in. And we're proud of that. The new generation that we're bringing in, it's a particular type of generation that we call RICE, reciprocating internal combustion engines. And these are going to be engines that are about 20 megawatts each. So we'll have about 5. We might buy 6 if the price is right. But these are going to be stacked together in a train, one after another. And we can run one, or we can run every one of them, whatever our needs are. They're very fast reacting. They can follow the intermittency of solar around a lot better than any other generator. And so we're looking forward to bringing those online in 2024 probably. Or late 2023. Next slide, please. All right, so I was talking about the intermittency of solar and why, we're not just going whole hog. A lot of people want to know, why don't we just buy all of that in solar and be done with it? If you look at the chart on the left, that's a view of a typical residential solar installation. So the little hump chart that you see, that's what the solar output looks like if you smooth it out and kind of average what the output looks like over time. And then that other S-shaped curve, that's what your consumption at your house typically looks like in a summer afternoon. And so you can see the peak of the solar output does not match with the peak of the home consumption, not at all. Homes are still peaking when solar is running away. So solar is going to always be a bit of a niche, but we're also looking to get more and more into battery storage type technologies to help us try to start bridging those gaps. So there's going to be a whole lot more discussion on those kinds of things as we go forward. But that one thing can tell you, that one chart can tell you why we don't just replace everything that we're short with solar. And by short, I mean when we retire the coal generator. The chart on the right, that is a real-time look at, like a second by second look at what solar performance is. And that's based on our ground-mounted installations that we have. So that green line is the total of all the solar resources that we have. You can see how jagged that is in the middle of the day like that. So why is that? Well, that's white puffy clouds. If it started raining, that would go almost all the way down to 0. So the reason we need those fast-reacting generators that we're bringing in is to be able to follow and account for those jagged edges that you see in the performance of solar in real time. And when I say real time, we're talking about the speed of light because it's photons either hitting the solar panels or not. And so the change in output can change at the speed of light. It can be very damaging if you get too much on your system all at once and you're not prepared for it. Next slide, please. All right, so what I'm calling Next Gen Phase 1. Again, we're talking about the retirement of our coal generator and what that means to our system. That coal generator is a 365 megawatt machine. It's a huge, huge process in order to get electricity put out of that machine. And so when we retire the generator, our entitlement in it is only 220 megawatts because we're in a partnership with Orlando Utilities Commission. They got 40%, we have 60%. Now, you didn't see any numbers in there that really led us to 220 megawatts for our replacement options, and that's because we're only short 139. We are fat in what we call capacity, PHAT fat, and so we don't need to replace the full 220 megawatts. So we're only doing what we need right now. We have taken a look at the analysis of what our needs are. That's all complete. We've looked at the risk analysis for the shuttering, which means we're shutting down the coal generator. That's complete. And then we have just completed a replacement capacity option in what we call a power purchase agreement with the Orlando Utilities Commission. Their board has voted on it, and our city commission has voted on it, so that's also complete. Next slide, please. In the phase 2 to 3 of this process, which is going to take us out over starting in the spring, over the next couple of years, we will be shutting the coal generator down on or about the end of March. And I say it that way because it has to run that long, number one. Number two, we're going to run it till it absolutely runs out of coal, so it could go an extra week. We just don't know, but we will be on or about the end of March of this year. We will be bringing back to the City Commission for approval the permanent replacement option using that RICE technology that I talked about. And then we're also going to be bringing the approval for the next round of renewable energy, the solar RFP that I talked about also. I'm not going to bring back a proposal that doesn't make sense if it's not financially feasible for us. We were early adopters for solar, the 15 megawatts that I talked about a second ago. We paid a very, very high price, and I'll give you a sense of scale. We paid as much as $190 a megawatt hour for the solar that we have on the ground now. It's averaging about $130 a megawatt hour, and we think we can get it for less than 30 for the new stuff that we're adding. And if we can't get it in that price range, I'm not going to be interested. I don't think it's a good deal for you as my consumers. But we are looking for those new generation options to come online in mid to late 2023, maybe even early 2024. Next slide, please. So we reached a milestone. I laid down a law that if we reached a milestone of $5 million spent on our coal generator that was incremental to maintenance, that we would be in a shutdown mode. And we reached that this past summer. We originally intended to shut the generator down in 2024, but I mean, I never really believed that we were going to make it that long. It's an old generator. It needs to be maintained a lot more than what we're willing to spend money on. And so we achieved that incremental $5 million last summer, which was a total surprise to all of us. Like I said before, we do have the power purchase agreement in place, and that's a power pool agreement. We're in a power pool with Orlando and the Florida Municipal Power Agency, so we can exchange electricity with each other in a real-time basis. And that process, that one thing that we do in that power pool it benefits our consumers to the tune of about $12 million a year. It's a really, really great process that we're in. And so if the coal unit is forced offline for whatever reason, we're going to take a look at every single one of those situations, and hopefully that doesn't happen much. But we are going to be taking an outage in the next day or two to deal with an issue that's not very expensive and then bring it back online. But if we find one that's just too expensive, then that would in fact be its last day. Next slide, please. Okay, so when I say, I might have mentioned the word decommissioning. If I haven't, that's what we're going to be doing. The City Commission voted that we would decommission this generator. That basically means that you're never going to run it again, and you're going to tear it down, and you're going to fully remediate any environmental issues that might exist. The step one of that is what we call cold and dark. We're going to drain fluids out. We're going to disable the power sources, and any kind of equipment that needs to be secured will be secured. And for the record, at the end of March marks a 5-month period that our employees who are going to be impacted by this shutdown, in other words, they're on a list to be laid off. Those employees will be used to reach the cold and dark stage. And then step two would be, we've got to figure out what to do with our landfill. The biggest environmental risk that we have is the landfill. The landfill holds the ash and the residuals from coal combustion. It's just right across the street from the generator itself. We've got to figure out what to do with that, which includes, do we continue to sell those proceeds, because people do buy that. It works good for concrete and drywall. Or do we cap it and just shut it down and call it a day? So we are looking at that now. And then we need to begin the dismantling process. That will take some years. And then, of course, we need to finish up the complete environmental remediation of the property itself. So in addition to the 5-month period that the impacted employees get to work, they have 2 months severance at any point during that 5-month period. Next slide, please. All right, so our future choices. We are back on the highway scene. So I mentioned before, our total obligation is 920 megawatts. That's what our requirements are to be able to meet with a 15% reserve margin. You can see the bus on the left is our fleet. Exiting right there to the right of the bus is the coal generator. We're going to be losing that 220 megawatts. But coming on the on-ramp is a power purchase agreement with Orlando that is the 120 megawatts that we're bringing in. And then further down the path, we've got some other options that we're bringing in, which is our solar and our new generators. Along this highway, though, we've got a generator that's at our Larson plant on the corner of 92 and East Lake Parker. That is 30 years old next year. And then our Unit 5, which is our workhorse, is a very efficient natural gas generator. It's going to be 30 years old in 2030. So we got some very heavy lifting decisions to be made over the next decade or so. Next slide, please. All right, that is the short and sweet of it. We have been talking about this for probably 3 years to the City Commission. When you see Don Selvage and you see Mayor Mutz and others, give them a hug because they've been listening to this for a good long time and they probably need it. But at this point, I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Well, I will monitor your questions for you since you were our speaker. Here's one. Apart from the obvious inability of solar to generate power when there's a storm because of the clouds and the rain, are the solar panels fragile to damage during a hurricane or other severe storm?
Typically, the panels that we use are on a rolling pivoting basis, and so they follow the sun across the sky. They're on an angle of about 22.5 degrees facing south, but they'll follow the sun across the sky that way. Whenever there is a storm, they try to reach back to a point of equilibrium to minimize the amount of uplift you might get from wind blowing and whatnot, but they absolutely can be damaged. I got a chance to get on top of the RP Funding Center not too long ago, and I was amazed at the amount of damage that existed on those panels from just storms and wind damage and things like that. Some of the ground-mounted panels that we have out by the airport, after Hurricane Irma hit, we had rows and rows of those that were just out of commission for a couple of months probably, that had to be brought back into service. And then finally, they do have a tendency to be prone to lightning strikes because they're out in the field all by themselves, and they do suffer quite a bit of lightning damage.
Okay, thank you. There's a set of questions wanting you to just comment, I think, generally on nuclear. Is it on the radar at all for the state of Florida or being considered in Lakeland?
Okay, for the record, being from Texas, it's pronounced nuclear. There's 2 L's in there somewhere, so. So if we're going to go to a carbon-free future, you got to consider that nuclear has to be a piece of that somehow. It has to be. Because you can't do it with just renewable energy products. At least you can't right now today. The technologies just do not exist, and we can't see that there's a technology on the horizon that will do it for us. So if you want to truly go carbon free, nuclear has to be a piece of it. We Lakeland Electric would never, ever build our own nuclear plant because we just don't have the financial wherewithal to be able to do that. It's too risky. But we certainly can buy into the power output from other plants that are around Florida and even in the Southeast perhaps. So I would be looking for some type of partnerships out over time. I think we have some time before we have to be too concerned about that. There's a technology that's being tested in the Midwest West, Idaho National Labs. It's called small modular reactors. That's a favorable looking technology, but they still have to be able to deliver a product at a fair price. And even those guys are struggling with that right now. So if they could prove that one out, that would be a really, really good boon for our industry, I think. But alongside that, we'd be looking at hydrogen as an alternate source as well. If we can get hydrogen to market, you can have traditional generators burning a significant amount of hydrogen, if not all hydrogen. And if you create the hydrogen in a green manner, then all of a sudden it starts to make sense.
Okay. Mike Huff wants to know if Lakeland Electric currently has any battery storage capacity and what kind of facilities are going to have to be built to provide the battery storage that we need.
Thanks, Mike. We installed a small battery at the tennis courts across from Cleveland Heights. And we did that because we wanted to test how we would dispatch the operation of that battery out over time. And so we've had that installed. It's a very, very small thing, so it's hardly worth talking about, but you have to start somewhere, right? And so we've had that installed for probably at least 3 years, maybe 4. And we've been working on trying to get some analytics around that and how that works. In the RFP that we have for the solar that I talked about, the 50 to 75 megawatts, we are looking to include a small component of battery storage with that as well. And we're keeping it small mainly because battery storage is not at a price where it's really attractive right now. So we don't want to get too carried away with it. But if we can learn how to use that to help us mitigate some of the fluctuations in our load curves, maybe shift some of the demand to different points in time, then I think we would get a lot of value out of that.
All right, how about 2 more questions? Are you agreeable?
Yep.
I'm not going to tell you who asked this one because I bet you can guess. Sometimes people in our city believe that the city should provide all of its own electricity. How typical is that across the nation?
That's a plant question. So I'm guilty of making the statement very recently and a couple of times in the past. This is the first place that I've ever worked where we could absolutely generate 100% of our own needs. I've never been anywhere where that's the case. That's not to say that it doesn't exist elsewhere, but I think it's a holdover because back in the day, like in the 1950s and before, all the electricity grids around the state of Florida were standalone and they didn't really interact with each other much, if at all. And so you really had to have that amount of generation to be able to account for your own load. And I think the fact that we're a peninsula, the fact that we're prone to different storm events and whatnot, I think that played into that mindset. But that mindset institutionally is still alive in Florida. So the utility committee a year ago voted that we should remain in the 100% generation business, and I'm fine with it. I love it. It's just new for me, so it's something I've got to get used to, and I've had a hard time wrapping my mind around it. Great question, thanks.
Okay, and your last question is, should solar panels and battery systems be encouraged for individual homeowners?
I think absolutely. People need to go into this with their eyes wide open, though, because there's a few shady salesmen out there that are just willing to sell you something, and it's not helpful. If you don't understand how we charge when you have solar, then you're not going to have a good time with it. If you're somebody like Dan, who has a good handle on how this works, then you can install solar panels with battery storage components to it, and then you can work on that demand issue that I was talking about before. You can kind of reshape that curve, and you can get benefits out of it. As the prices of batteries continue to come down, and they will, that's going to get to be a better and better option for our customers. We're going about it that way because we can't just keep doing it the same old way and expect different results. So solar standing alone on somebody's house, all you're really doing, if you're not on our demand rate, all you're really doing is transferring your costs to maintain the grid onto somebody else. And that's not fair. And I just don't think we should stand for that. So if we can get the coupling of solar and battery storage together to work, then I think that's a real winner for us all.
All right, that's it.
Cool. Thank you very much. That's the best program ever, if I do say so myself. Thank you all for sticking with it. Amanda, would you mind running through the guests and visiting Rotarians, all 2 of them?
Yes, we had Joe, the guest of Don Selvage, and Doug McCall, our visiting Rotarian from Wallace, England. Thanks for coming today.
Okay, well, we're not going to shut down until you say Joe's last name.
Xanthopoulos.
Right on.
Close enough.
That was fabulous.
Welcome, Joe and Doug. Our weekly quote: "With great power comes an even greater electric bill. Next week's program is Stacy Campbell Dominic, and she's going to be talking about Black History Month. We'll be looking forward to that. Absent any protests to the contrary, we're going to call this meeting adjourned. Thank you all. Have a great week.
Congratulations, Amanda. Woo-hoo.